The will was read and every relative received money, but all I got was an old cassette. Everyone started making fun of me. I played the cassette and my grandfather's voice came through. They are all happy with a fake will. You are the real heir, and the proof is in the bank. So everyone got money? My cousin Emily said with a laugh. And you got this? She looked at the old brown cassette in my hand and laughed. Everyone standing in front of me had the same expression on their faces. Pity, amusement, and a little bit of satisfaction, like today had finally given them a chance to feel superior to me. Grandpa William Carter's will had just been read. My Aunt Susan received $300,000. My Uncle Robert received the lake house. My cousins received investment accounts and vehicles. And next to my name it said, an old audio cassette to be personally delivered to my granddaughter. That was it. The room stayed silent for a few seconds and then Emily lowered her voice and said, maybe Grandpa forgot at the end that you were part of the family too. Someone tried not to laugh. I held the cassette tighter in my hand. Is this some kind of joke? I asked Attorney Martin. He was closing his file. No, Eva. This is exactly what the will says. Grandpa left me only a cassette? Martin looked at me. There was a strange calmness in his eyes. He gave specific instructions that this cassette was only for you. He also said you should listen to it alone. Behind me I heard my Aunt Susan's voice. How strange. I turned around. She was sitting on the couch holding a cup of coffee. What's strange? I asked. She gave me a small smile. Just that you were always different, Eva. Maybe Grandpa wanted to give you something emotional. The rest of us got the real things. Something tightened in my throat. The real things. She didn't answer. I looked around at everyone's faces. The people I had grown up with. The people Grandpa bought Christmas gifts for every year. And today I was the one holding an old cassette. I slipped it into my pocket and stood up. I need to go. Emily called after me. Eva, don't take it personally. Sometimes things just don't turn out the way we want. I opened the door. Yes, Emily. Sometimes people think they already have everything. I drove home and it was almost 10 at night. I parked my car in the driveway. The house was dark. I turned on the lights, took off my jacket and walked straight into the kitchen. The same cassette was still sitting on my table. I stared at it for almost an hour. My grandfather William Carter was not the kind of man who did things without a reason. He wrote everything down. Every receipt. Every agreement. Every important detail. When I was a child he used to say, paper is more honest than a person's memory. I took out an old cassette player I had bought years ago at a garage sale. I placed the cassette inside. I pressed play. For a few seconds there was only static. Then I heard a familiar voice. Eva, if you're hearing this, it means that day has finally come. I sat up straight. It was Grandpa's voice. Weak but clear. First I want you to know something. I never forgot about you. My eyes stayed fixed on the dark television screen across the room. The people who are celebrating today don't know that the will they just read is not complete. My hand stopped on the table. They are all happy with a fake will. A cold feeling moved through me. You are the real heir, Eva. And the proof is in the bank. There was silence on the cassette for a few seconds. Then Grandpa spoke again. But remember, getting the money is not the purpose. First, find out who betrayed me. The cassette stopped. I sat there for a long time without moving. The next morning the first thing I did was call Martin. Did you know anything about another will from my grandfather? There was silence on the other end. Eva, you found the cassette? You knew. I only knew that Mr. William had kept some things separately. What things? I can't explain over the phone. Come to my office. An hour later I was sitting across from Martin in his office. He closed the door and placed a file in front of me. Your grandfather met with me 6 months ago. I opened the file. Inside were copies of bank documents. What is this? Martin looked at me. A trust account. Whose name is it under? He looked directly at me. Eva Carter. I looked at the paper again. But, how is this possible? Martin spoke quietly. Your grandfather transferred a large portion of his estate into a trust. He named you as the actual beneficiary. Then what did everyone else receive? A temporary document. I looked up. Temporary. Your grandfather placed a legal condition. If anyone in the family attempted to alter his signature or change his documents, They would lose their claim to the actual inheritance. Closed the file. Someone changed the will? Martin took a deep breath. We have to prove it. I leaned back in my chair. Grandpa said I needed to find out who betrayed him. Martin looked at me. I think he already knew. Suddenly, a lot of small things started coming back to me. The last 2 years. Grandpa's illness. The strange conversations happening inside the house. My Aunt Susan suddenly visiting him every week. And the day I saw her walking out of Grandpa's office. I had asked her, "What were you doing in there?" She smiled. "Just organizing Grandpa's things." I said, "He can do that himself." She replied, "Eva, why do you question everything?" At the time I thought maybe I was overthinking. But now everything felt different. I looked at Martin. I want to know everything. Over the next few days I quietly started investigating. Martin requested the bank records. We discovered that a new will had been filed 2 weeks before Grandpa died. The signature was there. But the date was strange. It was the day Grandpa was in the hospital with his hand wrapped in a bandage. "This is impossible," I said while looking at the document. "Why?" Martin asked. "Because Grandpa couldn't sign anything that day. I was at the hospital." Martin looked at me. "Did you see anyone with him?" I went quiet. Then I remembered. Aunt Susan. She had gone into Grandpa's room. For almost 20 minutes. I immediately said, "It was her." "Who?" "My aunt." But the next discovery was even bigger. When the bank sent additional records, another name appeared. Not just Susan. Another person. My own brother Daniel. I stared at the document. "No." Martin looked at me quietly. "Eva, I'm sorry." I shook my head. "No. Daniel couldn't do this." But then I remembered the night Daniel said to me, "Grandpa always thought you were more important." I had laughed and replied, "He just spent more time with me." He had said, "Yeah. Maybe too much." I hadn't paid attention to that sentence before. Now I did. I called Daniel. He answered on the first ring. "Hello. We need to talk." Silence. "About what?" "Grandpa's will." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Eva, just leave this alone." "Leave it alone? Take whatever you got." I laughed. "What did I get, Daniel?" "A cassette." He immediately said, "You don't know what you're getting yourself into." I stopped. "What does that mean?" "I'm saying just let it go." The call ended. And that was the moment I understood. Daniel didn't just know. He was involved. The next day I called both of them. At Aunt Susan's house. The same house where I had spent many childhood summers. When the door opened, Susan was standing there. "You." I walked inside. "We need to talk." Daniel was there too. Seeing him didn't surprise me anymore. Susan looked at him. "You called him." Daniel stayed silent. I placed the file on the table. "What is this?" Susan looked through the papers. Her expression changed. "Where did you get this?" I looked at her. "So you admit it's real?" She quickly replied, "I didn't say that." "You went into Grandpa's room." "I was his daughter." "And Daniel?" My brother looked away. I said, "You both changed the will." Susan suddenly became angry. "You always think you're the innocent one." I stayed quiet. She continued. "Grandpa gave you everything. Since childhood you. Only you. And that gave you the right to betray him? It meant we deserved something too." I looked at Daniel. "Why did you help her?" He spoke quietly. "I was in debt." "So you betrayed Grandpa?" He lowered his eyes. "I thought we were only changing a little." "A little?" I opened the file. "You both forged signatures." Susan's face turned pale. "You can't call the police." I looked at her. "Why?" She didn't answer. I took out my phone. Because I already sent everything to Martin. Daniel immediately stood up. "Eva, stop." I looked at him. "Do you remember when I was 8 years old and Grandpa told me that family is built on trust?" He said nothing. "You sold that trust." Susan grabbed the chair. "You're going to destroy us?" I looked at her. "No. You did that yourself." A few weeks later, the legal process began. The fake will was cancelled. The bank accounts were returned to the trust. And the most painful part was that my family didn't see me as their enemy because of money. They saw me as their enemy because I told the truth. I received Grandpa's real estate. But I didn't keep the lake house. I donated it to a foundation that helps elderly people. The same place where Grandpa spent his final years. I still have that cassette today. I have never played it again. I don't need to. Because the last thing Grandpa said on it was enough for me. Eva, remember this. The truth doesn't always win quickly, but when it does, everyone sees it. Very few people in my family speak to me now. But every time I look at that old cassette, I remember how everyone thought I received nothing that day. They were wrong. I received the one thing they had taken away from themselves. My grandfather's trust. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories filled with unexpected twists, family secrets, and powerful moments of truth. Thank you for staying with me until the end and being part of this journey. Your support truly means a lot.